Welcome to the History of Simple Things, where we delve into the fascinating history behind the little things that shape our world. Hey there, ever been on a roller coaster and wondered, how on earth is this thing working? How am I staying safe while my stomach is doing backflips? Well, today we're going to take a deep dive into the fascinating world of roller coasters. What makes them tick? How they loop, drop, and twist while keeping us glued to our seats? And the brilliant science behind all that fun. Get ready because you're about to find out that riding a roller coaster is not just a thrill, but an engineering marvel in action. Let's start with the most fundamental force that controls roller coasters: gravity. You're probably familiar with it as the thing that keeps your feet on the ground. But on a roller coaster, gravity is like a puppet master pulling the strings. Coasters don't usually rely on motors once they get going. Instead, they're all about harnessing potential and kinetic energy, which is really just gravity at work in disguise. Here's how it happens. The ride typically starts with a slow, tension-building climb to the top of a tall hill, which you might know as the lift hill. This is where the roller coaster's chain mechanism, or in modern cases, some fancy magnetism, pulls the cars up, building potential energy. This is the energy stored in the coaster as it inches higher and higher, kind of like a spring being wound up. The higher you go, the more potential energy gets packed in. Once you reach the peak, it's all downhill, literally. That potential energy transforms into kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion. Now the coaster is racing downward, using gravity to pull it along. This is why that first drop is often the biggest, the fastest, and the scariest. It's the moment when all that stored energy gets released in one adrenaline-pumping plunge. And because energy can't be created or destroyed, thanks physics, it just keeps transferring back and forth between potential and kinetic energy throughout the entire ride, carrying you through loops, twists, and turns. Speaking of loops and twists, let's talk about how roller coasters manage to flip you upside down without sending you flying out of your seat. It all comes down to centripetal force, which sounds complicated but is easier to understand than you might think. Centripetal force is the force that pulls an object toward the center of a circular path. Imagine you're swinging a ball around on a string. As long as you keep the string taut, the ball spins around without flying off. The string is providing the centripetal force to keep it in motion. On a roller coaster, the track itself provides this centripetal force. So when you're going through a loop, the coaster's speed pushes you against the seat and the track keeps you on course. Even when you're upside down, the speed of the coaster combined with the shape of the track creates enough force to keep you securely in place. In a vertical loop, the highest point is actually the slowest. You might feel like you're going to fall out, but here's the cool part. Centripetal force and gravity work together to keep you safe. The faster you go through the loop, the more force pulls you toward the track, gluing you to the seat. Momentum is another big player in the roller coaster experience. It's what keeps the ride flowing smoothly once it gets going. Momentum is essentially mass in motion, and it's why you can go through a series of hills and turns without needing another boost of energy after that initial climb. Let's say your coaster has just gone through a massive drop. Now it's hurtling down the track with tons of momentum. That momentum is enough to send the cars through more loops, corkscrews, and hills. The coaster doesn't need extra energy to keep moving forward because the momentum from that first drop carries it through the rest of the track. It's the reason you keep feeling the wind rushing in your face long after the first big hill is behind you. Okay, we've talked about the thrill side of things, but what about safety? As exhilarating as roller coasters are, the engineering behind them is all about making sure riders are safe at every twist and turn. One of the key safety features of roller coasters is the braking system. You may have noticed that at the end of a ride, the coaster slows down rather than coming to a screeching halt. That's thanks to carefully designed friction brakes, or in some modern coasters, magnetic brakes. Friction brakes work by squeezing brake pads together to create resistance, slowing the coaster down gradually. Magnetic brakes, on the other hand, use magnets to create opposing forces, which also slow the train without making physical contact. This not only ensures a smooth stop, but also reduces wear and tear on the coaster itself. There are also anti-rollback mechanisms, which come into play during the initial climb. Have you ever heard that click-click-click sound while you're going up the first hill? That's an anti-rollback device. It's designed to lock the cars in place if the lift chain or mechanism fails, so the coaster doesn't roll backward. It's a backup that makes sure the coaster stays safe, even if something goes wrong during the ascent. While many traditional roller coasters start with a slow climb up a lift hill, some modern ones skip that part altogether. Enter the launch coaster. These rides use magnets, compressed air, or even hydraulic systems to launch the coaster from a standstill to incredible speeds in a matter of seconds. You've probably heard of coasters like King de Ka or Top Thrill Dragster, which shoot riders forward in a heartbeat. These launch systems rely on electromagnetic propulsion or compressed air for a high-speed start, eliminating the need for the usual climb. Magnetic launch systems use powerful magnets to pull and push the coaster, accelerating it smoothly. It's the same tech that powers bullet trains, but with a lot more screaming involved. So, the next time you're sitting in that roller coaster seat, waiting for the first big drop or launch, you'll know there's some serious science going on behind the scenes. From the invisible tug of gravity to the pull of centripetal force and the clever use of momentum and braking systems, every part of the ride is a carefully orchestrated dance of physics and engineering. Roller coasters aren't just about thrills. They're about precision and control, ensuring that every twist, turn, and loop brings just the right amount of excitement without sacrificing safety. So enjoy the ride, scream your heart out, and maybe impress your friends with some cool coaster facts you've picked up along the way. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.